So that was fun.
Remember that time they recorded an entire podcast and then you didn't hit record?
Yeah, I went to stop the recording and then I couldn't stop it because we weren't recording. And it was such a good conversation. So we're going to try to repeat the same conversation and make it sound really authentic as we repeat ourselves to
I
each
was
other.
sitting here trying to think of all the things that we talked about, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know if we can cover the things that we talked about.
Well, and it's like weird now because we already talked about it. So we had these authentic responses to each other, and now we're going to repeat ourselves and pretend like it's the first time we heard that conversation.
No, we don't have to pretend.
I hate that I didn't record that. It was so damn good.
It was so great. But it was good. It was good practice for us to get back into the swing of things because we haven't seen each other since like before Christmas. We have been taking a break from podcasting. So we're back. And that was just like a little practice run. This is going to be even better.
Yeah. I feel like this is very typical for everyone digging themselves out of the holidays where you're just kind of a mess. And here we are trying to dig out. So we recorded a whole podcast and didn't record it. That seems pretty much like on point for January.
Mm-hmm. Now we get to record it while my kids are home being super loud.
Yeah.
And you get to hear me either yelling at them to be quiet or you get to hear them being loud in the background. It's going to be great.
Same.
It's great.
Same. Kids are downstairs making food, listening to some ridiculous music, and I'm trying to smash a sandwich in my face. So that's today.
I love it.
Well, welcome back to the Wake Her Up podcast. I am your host, Marcella Hill, along with my sister,
Sharon Johnson.
And we are going to attempt to record what we thought we recorded again.
But you hit record this time. Look, there's a timestamp and it's recording.
It's actually recording. So we're doing it for real. And the last podcast, well, the conversation we had, we didn't really know where it was going. We thought we would be talking about imposter syndrome, but I think it ended up kind of being this theme of, are you a good person and how do you know if you're a good person? Or are you just...
Interruption number 1. Please shut the door. I'm recording a podcast. Love you. Goodbye.
Perfect. So we were trying to figure out what our podcast is about. And I think as I looked back at our conversation, I think we kind of summed up the question of, are you a good person? And how would you know if you're a good person? If you're just going by the rules of society? Because, I mean, I told you the story. I feel like everything's like, so I told you this. But
tell that story though about when you were nannying in New York. That was amazing.
Right?
That's a great story.
And I share that in the Wake Her Up book, but it felt like such a profound moment. So I was 19. I was a nanny in New York City, and I was nannying a 13-year-old. And if you're just listening to us for the first time, Sharon and I grew up Mormon and going to church every week, going to all Sunday school classes. I mean, everything we did was because of the religion we were taught. And here I am, this 13-year-old. They're Jewish, but only by tradition, not religiously. And I just straight up naively asked her, why don't you steal and cheat and do bad things? And she just looked at me like I was the biggest idiot and just scrunched her face and looked at me like, because I'm a good person. And I remember just thinking, 1, totally embarrassed I would even ask her that question, but 2, that I didn't know if I was a good person, because the only reason I was good is because I followed all the rules that said, if you follow all these rules, then you are good.
It's not going to work. Can you hear the giggling right outside of my door?
Mm-hmm. Did you get your kids out of the way?
Yes, it's just, I'm okay.
So, good mom. You're a good mom, remember?
No, I know. I'm a great mom. They're just annoying. They just don't know how good a mom they have, and it's annoying.
I know. Do people ever realize like how good their mom is? I don't think. I'm 44, and I feel like I still take my mom our mom for granted.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm good at
That's
that.
a really great question, because I think the older I get, the more and more I realize how good of a mom I have. But I also think that we like grew up in this community that like makes moms everywhere seem like the greatest, most perfect thing in the entire world, and so you don't realize like how good of a mom you have. Like, we didn't have any like shitty moms to compare our moms to, because there was this facade of like every mom that we were surrounded with was like the most perfect mom in the entire world. Like, our standard of what like a good mother was like so high that no one could achieve that. Does that make sense? And I'm realizing that, like, I posted a TikTok the other day that was like me and mom just messing around. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. Oh, I
And it
saw
was
it.
me
So
just
cute.
like, yeah, it was just me like being a brat, like how you kind of turn into a child when you go to mom's house and you kind of are like, I'm going to wear your makeup and I'm going to steal your clothes. And like, will you please make me a sandwich? Even though I'm a 38-year-old woman that can make my own sandwich. And I'm going to complain about my children not making their own sandwiches. But mommy, can you please make my sandwich? And there were so many comments that were like, oh, is this what having a good mom is? Is this what like a good relationship with your mom looks like? And I was just like, oh,
I did not read the comments.
you
Oh my
know, go and
gosh.
read the comments. It's so sad that I thought that it was going to be like this relatable TikTok that everyone was like, ha ha, yeah, that's what it's like when you have a mom. And so many of the comments are like, I don't know what that's like. So I'm saying that like we don't even understand how good of a mom we have even now as 38-year-old women.
Yeah. Because we think this is the world. Like, we're just so, what is the word? Just blind, because this is our world. I mean, we don't, I think one of the times that I had the blinders come off is when we did the 1-800 call mom video at the very beginning, like before anything was happening. We were doing a video talking about how we call our mom every day and ask her all the questions and how funny it is that she's kind of this mom hotline. All 4 of us siblings call mom almost every day, asking her for anything and everything, good, bad advice, just to say hi, just bored.
Yeah, I'm running to the library. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we posted how funny it is that we have this like hotline of a mom, and everyone, I mean, it blew up because people were talking about how they don't have a mom. They can't call their mom. They never have been able to. They would give anything to call their mom again. Either their mom passed away or a severed relationship with them, or a narcissistic mom or a toxic mom. And I had no concept of how many people, I thought that was more rare to not have a relationship with a mom than it is to have one. And now I don't know, honestly, because of that video. I thought, oh my gosh, which one is more common, to have a good relationship with your mom or to have a not a relationship with your mom?
I don't know. That's the other thing about like leaving religion, and also now that I'm like in my depression is in remission, my baseline for normal or like what is standard practice or common is out the window. I have no idea. I have no idea what's real. I have no idea what's common. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, I literally just had this conversation with my friend Brenda. So Brenda and I were talking about drinking, right? She just left the religion too. And we were both talking about how we have no understanding of what is normal in like drinking alcohol, because we thought any drink of alcohol was super bad. So now we have no understanding of like, okay, if you're having a glass of wine every night, are you an alcoholic? Like, we don't know like what's normal, good, healthy, regular drinking practices and what level is concerning. And if you drink on a New Year's Eve night to like blackout scenario, is that completely, absolutely socially unacceptable? You have a problem. Or is that just like a stupid night that, oops, you drank too much? Like, we have no concept of what is regular human experience.
So I was talking to my therapist, and she's trying really, really hard to get me to, she talks a lot about trusting your gut. And because I'm always looking for like external validation to tell me now, because I don't have like a bar of like what's normal. So I'm always like, therapist, Marlena, tell me, is this normal? Is this okay? Tell me. And she's like, well, what is your gut telling you? And she's been doing this for weeks now. And I finally kind of, not like snapped at her, but was like, I had this realization of like, Marlena, I can't trust my gut. Like, my gut has told me forever that like wearing a tank top is bad. Like, my gut has told me that being mad at my husband for a jerk thing that he did means that I'm a shitty wife. Like, my gut has been hijacked, not only by like our high intensive religion, but also by my bipolar, right? Because my gut tells me that, like, and lies to me and tells me all of these terrible things. And then when I'm manic, it lies to me and tells me that, like, I can live forever and I'm the funniest person who walked on the planet. Like, I can't trust my gut. It's very confusing to have to learn to listen to yourself when yourself has been lying to you for your whole life.
Yeah, that's such that you're nailing it, because that is the thing. We have been hijacked by religion, society, past trauma, our parents, how everyone lives around us. We do not know what our actual gut, so to say, or actual soul needs or wants, because I don't think we've ever gotten down to it, right? Like, we're just hijacked by all of these standards of normal or good or what everybody else is doing. It's so damn hard to hear our actual gut or actual self.
Yeah.
Because we've been taught technically to not listen to it, to listen to all of these other factors. And we're comparing ourselves to all these other factors.
It's hard to differentiate between what is your gut and what is everything else, and what is, you know, like, I don't think I've ever told the story on this podcast about what, can I tell the story real quick?
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
Yes, allowed.
It was a podcast that I'm allowed to tell stories on about my personal experience.
Approved. Do you want to submit it for approval first?
So last year around this time, I went to the library every Tuesday night. I have like a self-care date night, and I go by myself and go do something. So I decided to go to the library. I took a book, I took the laptop, and I was just going to sit and write. And this man was coming out of the bathroom, and he asked me a question about, like, was I studying for an exam or something like that. And we got into this conversation about how he helps people like figure out like scholarships, or like non-traditional students figure out kind of like scholarships and different ways for them to go back to school. And would that be interesting to me? And from the get-go, I was kind of in a corner of the library with my back up against the corner. So he was kind of like standing in front of me. We're behind a bunch of bookshelves. There was nobody around. Already, I was feeling like a little alarmed. Right. And like,
yeah.
And just like, I don't want to be having this conversation. I came here to be by myself and read. Why are you talking to me?
Yeah.
But I kept thinking, like, I don't want to be rude. Right. And like, I don't want to be like, he was a black man. Like, am I being racist? Am I being like, all of these thoughts like going to my head? Like, is this just a nice older gentleman coming to talk to me? He's just trying to have community. He's trying to chat. And he sat there and kept talking. And I just like alarm bells in my head, me thinking very specifically, like, I don't want to be here. I want to tell this man to go away. And I don't know how. I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say, like, please leave me alone right now. And I was super, super embarrassed to share this, and I'm not anymore. But like, he asked for my contact information because he was new to the city that we lived in. I was a librarian. Like, I could give some resources information. He had some questions. He asked for my phone number. I didn't give him my phone number, but I gave him my email address. And then he asked if he could walk me to my car. And it was after that that I was like, "What?" I, of course, said no. I went home. I was in a panic going home thinking, "Did this man, like, follow me home?" But even then my gut is like, "This is scary." But even then, I'm like, "Sharon, you're ridiculous. It was just a nice man at the library trying to talk to you." 5 minutes later, I get this email that is just absolutely sexually explicit, horrifying, absolutely awful.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like, I am a wreck. I am sobbing. I am telling myself, like, I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Like, how could I have done this? Why did I give him my email information? Is he going to find me on TikTok? Does he know who I am? Like, anyway, I ended up like calling the library. They've had, apparently he had been talking to other women as well in the library, but not like, they didn't know that it had gotten to this extent. I filed a police report. Like, it was this whole thing. And it's just like so crazy that I was having like this visceral gut reaction. Like, I knew to tell this man to go away, and I totally ignored it because I was trying to be kind, because I was taught to be not rude, because I was just being silly. And it's like our guts know. They know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How many women? I mean, I guarantee every single woman has had this experience, in the sense of, you knew and you didn't know how to express it, and you shoved it down because you're trying to be a nice girl or a good person or whatever it is. And you just knew. And I think that's honestly, if we can help women even be aware that there is a difference, even be aware that, like, your gut does tell you things, and we should try to figure out how to listen to that. Right? I mean, I think for me, I learned, I think the very beginning of learning to listen to myself, getting down to the core, was practicing meditation. It really was.
And that's something that I need to learn how to practice.
You know, I feel like I share it every time, because it really was like this core piece of how I started listening to myself and deciphering which is me, which is society, which is the box, which is me trying to do the right thing, and trusting just the being of me, and just scrapping all of it. And oh my gosh, we have to talk about the night bitch. This is where it comes in, because you haven't seen it, have you?
I haven't seen it. I have been like, because I know it's gonna like stir up all of these like feelings, and like, I don't know. I just need to watch it. I need to watch it because I know it's gonna be validating and it's gonna be wonderful. But I think I'm just gonna like cry a lot. So I've just been holding.
Just watch it. It's so damn good. It's incredible, like, from an artistic standpoint, the fact that there is another woman out there that feels the same way, to the point where she put it in a movie, is
Wait,
insane to me.
explain Night Bitch a little bit to
Okay,
people who don't know what that is. It's a
so it's on
show on
HBO
HBO.
Max. It's just a movie. It's not a series, thank goodness, right? Yeah, it's just a movie. You can watch the
Oh,
whole
I like
thing.
that even better.
It's a movie.
Okay, I can handle that better.
And this woman is, the beginning, you will cry at the beginning, because it just displays the numbness of being a mother. Like, the part where you're just cooking the same breakfast every day over and over, and your kid is just sitting on the floor playing with his truck every day. It's just like the monotony of being a mother, and how it just literally just numbs you out into this person that you don't even recognize. But she starts getting these feelings of kind of like these animalistic feelings of like rage and wanting to run without her shoes on and howl at the moon and like devour food. And she starts having these visions that she is actually inherently like a dog. I mean, it's bizarre. But here's the kicker. As she starts kind of leaning into it, her kid doesn't sleep at night. He won't eat food. She's totally disconnected from him. She's disconnected from friends. There's a scene where she goes to the singing time at the library and she doesn't even want to participate. She's like disgusted by everyone that's there. She is just in her head thinking about how crappy all of this is and how much she hates it. And then there's a scene where she starts leaning into this feeling, this gut instinct of just maybe she should listen to herself. And there's a scene where she buys dog food like bowls and she tells her son like, let's be doggies. And she puts their meals in their food and they're like eating out of this bowl with their faces in the bowl. And he's eating food that he wouldn't have eaten before, where she was like yelling at him and trying to get him to eat. And she was like numbed out and she was super frustrated. And now they're like laughing together and he's eating food. And then she buys a dog bed. And for the very first time, she lays him in this dog bed in his own room. And she goes, do doggies sleep with their mommies? No. Do doggies sleep with binkies? No. And she puts the blanket over him. And it's like the first time he ever sleeps by himself. And then she's sitting at this music time in the library and she's connecting with the women because she's part of a pact. And she's singing and she's alive and she's laughing and she's chasing squirrels with her son in the park. And the whole thing is really a representation of when you stop listening to society telling you how to be and what to be, and you listen to who you are, it just naturally lights up your world and it answers a lot of the questions that we're trying to figure out. It's really just her. It's who she is. And it's all just representation. At first you're like, is she turning into a werewolf? Like, is that what we're doing? You know, like, is this a werewolf movie? But it's not. It's a representation of women, like, really saying fuck you to society and that we are coming back into ourselves and trusting instinct like animals do. And that we default to being kind of magical beings that just are good and we just know how to do it.
You've talked about this before, that like a lioness doesn't question like how she's mothering or how, like, what to do. She just mothers. She just takes care of her cubs. That's just what she does. And I think that's this anxiety that really is stifling so many of us, is us trying to figure out like the right way to not only do life, but the right way to do motherhood. And I mentioned this in our not recorded podcast, and I'll mention it again, that, you know, there's like these ridiculous rules that all of these people are throwing out, that like, don't tell your kids no, don't tell your kids good job, don't tell your kids to be careful, like don't use these specific words. And as kind of like a more veteran mother, I'm just like, you are killing these young mothers by giving them these insane rules to live by. That like just focus on like your intent and your love and like creating this space that is safe and comforting for your children. Like, we're really boiling it down to like telling your kids to be careful, and then that's gonna like traumatize them. Like, that is not hurting your children. What's hurting your children is that we are so anxious over doing it the right way that it's hurting their mothers, and that's hurting them. It's crazy.
As soon as I kind of surrendered to this idea of being and not playing into the box anymore of how to be a good mom or how to be a good wife, first, it was a little bit scary because I had this uncharted like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of like flailing around thinking I'm doing it wrong, but I was still just trusting myself. And I have watched myself parent and love my children individually very different. Like my relationship and how I show up for every individual child is totally different. And I would say how I parent my oldest, my old self would have judged how I'm doing that, said I did it all wrong. And there was something shared with me from her a few weeks ago. I had made a decision or helped her make a decision that, quite frankly, goes against all of society and everything that any mother would say as being a good mom. And I hadn't questioned it, but there was always this inkling of like, a little bit like, did I do the right thing? And it took a couple years, but right before Christmas, she was like, Mom, had you not done that, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be here. And it just completely confirmed that when we listen to our instincts, like, it's right. Like, we really can trust ourselves. And then the way I parent my 17-year-old son is like a completely different experience than how I do my 10-year-old. Right. And as long as we keep putting ourselves in these boxes and trying to live by this list of what is a good person or what is a good woman, like, it's going to be so exhausting and so hard. I think we really are more animalistic than we have given ourselves credit. Like, we will default to doing it right for us.
Yeah. I think I learned that a lot in having adopted children. I remember talking to my therapist at the time, and she told me after a year or two, I would forget that like my kids were adopted. I would start having moments of like forgetting. And I remember at the 2-year mark feeling like a horrible mother because I was not forgetting. It was my brain all of the time. And how do I make that go away? And how do I make them just be like one of my kids, my biological children? How do I make them like, I was just constantly aware of like not making them feel adopted, right? That we were just like this normal family. And it wasn't until I fully like just accepted that we are not a normal family. Like, why are we trying to be this normal, quote unquote, like biological family that I was told we were supposed to be when we weren't?
Yeah.
It wasn't until then that parenting all of my kids and really becoming like a unit and a whole family, it wasn't until then that that started happening. That it was like, oh, I cannot treat my children and my family the way that I've been taught that it's supposed to be, because we aren't that.
Yeah.
We aren't. They have two mothers. They have a dad who is also their uncle. They have, a grandma who helps raise them. They have siblings that are cousins and siblings who live with other parents. And it's like, we can't just pretend and act like we're a biological family. And what's funny is that it's been 8 years now, and it's taken up until I think last year that even their biological mom now has said things like, we're like, wow, he's like so good at soccer, just like his dad. And his biological mom, who we still have contact with and see all of the time, was like, what are you talking about? Like, Carrie, my husband, he didn't play soccer as a kid. And we're like, no, remember their biological dad was a soccer all-star? And she's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, it
Wow.
wasn't until like we embraced what we just are that like we were able to show up in the way that they needed us to be, and when we started to become like a true family.
I love that. And I'll say, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all trust that being who you are ends up being the goal is like some beautiful marriage and a beautiful relationship and expansive marriage or family. Mine was not that. And I think that's the fear of finally falling into yourself and just being, is that it will destroy relationships, it will destroy families, and that you'll find out like how you are does not fit into this life you have. And I think that's actually a real thing. Because I mean, I'm in a blended family. I have had a stepson since he was 3. And I thought when we got married, we were going to put this beautiful family together and I was going to be the favorite mother, right? Like this really fun auntie kind of Marcella stepmom person, that I got to be the fun mom. And me and my stepson has never had a relationship. And I've tried and tried and tried, and it just is not to be. And I have guilted myself over it. I have shamed myself over it until I fell into being, and I thought, it is what it is. Like it's not my responsibility. It just is. Like, why am I sitting here killing myself over trying to have a relationship that he doesn't really want to have, just because I decided that we're supposed to. I decided that we're supposed to. I decided that me having a great relationship with him said something about who I was. And that is not true. Right? Like, not everyone has to like you. You don't have to have these beautiful relationships with every single person. He has a beautiful relationship with his mom. He has a wonderful relationship with his siblings and his family that he lives with. And why am I over here? Just, I'm not a jerk to him, but like, we just don't have the relationship I thought we were going to have. And the same thing goes for even my oldest daughter. It's not the relationship I thought we would have, but here we are, and neither of us are shaming each other. And I think one thing that does come that is a guarantee from accepting yourself as you are, loving yourself as you are, inadvertently, you end up loving everyone else as they are. And that is a beautiful thing, because that's where judgment comes from. That's where making everyone thinking that your kids are doing it wrong, that's where it comes from, is because you think you're doing it wrong. And as soon as you're like, you're doing it exactly right, just however you're doing it makes it so you can love your kids however they're doing it. And whether your family ends up being this nuclear, beautiful thing that you thought it was supposed to become or not, whatever it becomes, you have this, technically, I mean, it's unconditional love. When you find it for yourself, you end up having it for everything else.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, you let go of your expectations of like not only for your own life, but everybody around you. And then you're not holding on to resentment and pain and expectations of other people, because like we are this beautiful nuclear family, but also we have an aunt and a best friend who like are our family, who spend like every Christmas with us. We don't have a super close relationship with some of our extended family, and I could hold that against them. I could say like, you aren't, the people that I would like you to be to my kids. You aren't showing up. But instead of having to do that and think that through, because they can be whoever they are, we just get to accept the love that they have to offer to us. We just get to enjoy the time that we do get to spend with them, because I am not sitting there angry and resentful that they're not showing up the way that they're supposed to be showing up. Your life almost gets to like be as beautiful as you always wanted it to be, because you let go of what you thought it was supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's insane is, how long were we trying to fix everything outside of us and people so that we could live in a peaceful space in this beautiful life? We're trying to fix everybody, do all the exact right things. And as soon as we stopped, as soon as we decided, no, I'm exactly right as I am right now, with all of my flaws and all of my characteristics and all of my stupid habits, I'm going to decide that that is exactly right for right now. And I remember having that moment that I just realized, what if I just decided I'm exactly right? And that all these things that I have judged are wrong, that there is no right and wrong, and that I just am. And it had been a couple of months since I had talked to my oldest, and we went to lunch, and we were sitting at Chick-fil-A, and she's sitting across from me telling me some story. And I remember just sitting there watching her. And it was probably the very first time that I listened to her tell me whatever story she was telling me, but I didn't pick her apart. I didn't think about, oh, you shouldn't wear a skirt like that. Whatever story she wasn't telling me, I wasn't thinking, oh, you shouldn't talk to your friends like that, or maybe you shouldn't have said that to your teacher. I just sat there, and all I could think was how insanely grateful I was that I got to be a person to witness her living. And that was it. That I was privileged to be there among her existence, however she was. And I remember we went to Savers and tried on a whole bunch of dorky clothes, and we were laughing and laughing and laughing. And there would have been no room for laughter if I had picked her apart at lunch. There had been no room for it. And all of a sudden she was safe around me. And I don't know if she recognized, but like I knew she was safe around me because I wasn't poking holes at her anymore. I was just excited to be her mom.
Yeah, you weren't like playing this role of like, my job as a mom is to like mold you into the person that I expect you to be, that you should be.
I mean, that's what we've been told is being a mom. We've been told that that's our job, is to mold these kids into everything they should be. But what if that's shifted? What if now it literally is just love them and be privileged to be there? They're good. Kids are going to go do whatever the hell they're going to do. I mean, look at our world. Like, how many moms have tried and tried and tried and tried to get their kids to do what we think they should be doing, and let's say your kid does exactly what then you have literally wrapped your whole existence up into this other person. I think that's the other damage, is that when kids do achieve the exact right thing that the mom has like molded them into, the mom is like claiming that. Like, that has become your identity, is what your kids have become. Mm-hmm. And that's not very fair either, for you to claim like what your kids have become.
Yeah, I've really shifted my perspective of motherhood from like, I am molding you into this person that God or I want you to be, into I am here to love you and provide the basics and resources, but to like rear you and guide you into the life that you want, into the person that they want to be, and to help them figure that out and navigate that. Like that's kind of where I've shifted into what I think like motherhood is for me. I'm just here to help.
My youngest, she's 10, and she's so getting into puberty and mood swings and everything. And she had this total flip out at Costco like a few weeks ago. I mean, I'd never seen her have anything like this. So just a total like meltdown. Like, she just walked off in the middle of Costco. And we were like trying to herd her back to the car. I mean, how do you move a 10-year-old? You're just like, you can't pick them up and take them. I was just like, let's just get her back to the car. Like, and she was just stomping, and she wasn't screaming, but she like would not even acknowledge us. And later that night, we had a chat, and I had some time to think about that. And I thought, you're in puberty, you're going to have these big, crazy emotions, and you're doing it exactly right. Like, you having those emotions, there was nothing wrong about that. And right now, I will try to just keep you safe while you're exploring these feelings. And it was just a good chat. But one of the things she said, Mom, it makes it so much easier when I can get angry and have these crazy emotions that feel kind of scary. But when you don't get mad at me for doing it, it makes it so much better. And I was like, isn't that what we all want? Like, to be able to kind of just experience the world and figure things out and just have this acceptance and this love, and have people like almost like save space for us to maneuver through it. instead of telling us we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I did a TikTok about this experience that we had with one of our kids where they yelled, like really, really yelled at Carrie, my husband, and cursed at him. And it's funny. It's interesting because it was like a mixed response because I was really proud of my kid because Carrie had kind of crossed a line and my child had said like, hey, kind of like leave me alone. Like I don't want to talk about this right now. And Carrie kind of kept pushing. And my kid was finally like, no, Dad, you leave me the bleep alone. I told you I don't want to talk about this right now. And I was so proud of not only my kid, but Carrie, who came from a slightly abusive household when he was a child, where, I mean, both of us, we grew up in a society, in a community where like you don't talk to your parents like that.
Yeah.
Never in a billion years. And he was able to step back and recognize that it wasn't about my child like disrespecting him or being rude or how dare you curse at me. It was like, no, listen to the words that they're saying and what they're conveying and give them space to be able to feel these things. And they're a real person who have boundaries, who have feelings. And just because they're a child doesn't mean that you get to overstep their boundaries and be a jerk to them, because he was being a jerk and they called him out on that. And I was just so proud of both of them on how they handled it. And it really was this huge shift in the way that we parented our kid, that we are now parenting our kids, in this huge realization. And they were able to have this wonderful conversation about it later. And, their relationship now is so much stronger than it was, but that could have been a completely different story had we been like, how dare you talk to your dad like that? You're grounded. Instead of being like, okay, what's being conveyed here? What's going on? And really listening to our kids instead of being like, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, how many fights and problems and little wars it's all because people think it's supposed to be a certain way. And we're all fighting for like the way it should be. And when you kind of let go of all of that and you just are, it just allows for it's just so expansive. I mean, I think about my first marriage. My first marriage, he had an affair, and my only options were good marriage or divorce. That was all I had. That's all I knew. So of course, there was no like creativity. There was no figuring out what else to do. It was like, okay, that ended and now we're getting divorced. And now in my second marriage, when we have big problems, there's this idea of like, okay, well, the marriage isn't the way we thought it was supposed to be. So what could it be? And it's so much bigger. There's so many more options. There's so much more creativity and expansion and understanding. It's not just black or white. And that has developed a relationship that I didn't even know existed. I wouldn't even call what we have a marriage. It's like something completely else. I mean, I feel like I fall in love with him every other month, and then we break up, and then we get back together, and it's like this is what we are. This is how we function, and we don't even judge it anymore. We just kind of have fallen into this beautiful thing of just, again, it doesn't even have a word. And I love that because I got to a point where I was breaking all these boxes. I was like, I don't want to live in the wife box anymore. I don't want to live in the marriage box anymore. Yeah. So like, what else is there? Because I don't want to leave. I still like you. Right. But that's kind of what we're talking about, is breaking all these boxes. Yeah. And then what? Right. And I think what I want people to hear from this is that then what, the breaking out of the box is magic. Like there's magic out here. Right. And I think you and I, we talked about this a lot on our unrecorded podcast, where we always thought that if we didn't play by the rules and we weren't in the box, that we would become bad people, and it was dangerous to live outside the box. And it's just not. Like, all of that is a lie. I mean, I loved our conversation, how we were talking about, we thought we would be bad people if we left the religion, I remember telling you this and you saying, well, you did become a bad person in the sense of what we thought a bad person would be, right? We thought, if I leave the religion, I'm going to start swearing and drinking and doing drugs and being creative in my marriage or whatever, right? Relationships. And I remember saying to you, like, I thought that we'd become bad people. And you're like, well, technically you did according to your beliefs of a bad person.
Yeah.
But the joke is that all those things that we've taught are bad have not made me a bad person. They've made me an expansive person, a non-judgmental person, a person that connects and understands like real, authentic experiences. I have space for things and people and different ideas.
Yes. When we were in the religion, which I've been out about 3 years. How long have you been out?
2.
I tried so hard to be like this most perfect wife all of the time, right? And with the perfect marriage. And if we were fighting, then it wasn't perfect and it wasn't good. And so, if I was talking badly about my husband, if I was talking to him in a negative tone, I was being a bad wife. And this idea, it's so funny because I had this idea that like, okay, if we get into a fight or something he's doing is bothering me, the way that I would approach it would be like days later. Hey, babe. So like a few days ago, you were talking to the kids, and I noticed that you kind of had this tone with them, and I'm wondering like what you thought about that. And like that was a healthy marriage to me.
Like, I want to throw up a little bit because I know that tone. I lived that for so long.
Where now, in the moment, I'm like, hey, are you okay? Yes, why? Because you're kind of being an asshole to the kids.
Yes.
Oh, am I? Yeah. So figure out what's going on and maybe like stay away until you can be nice.
It's like 1,000 times better. Like
we
listen
got
to the
into a
power in
fight
your
yesterday.
voice.
Like a fight yesterday where I'm like yelling and he's like, why are you yelling? And I'm like, I don't know, but it feels good and I'm going to keep saying these things. And today we're like totally fine. Whereas like 4 years ago, we would have like not been talking for like a week. It would have been like something we would have had to gone to like therapy for. But I'm like, we had a fight. I was being emotional. He was being a jerk. We weren't communicating well. We had some things pent up that we needed to say. We said the things. I love him. We can move on. And I would have looked at what my life is now and been like, that's a really unhealthy marriage. And I'm not here to say that I'm in a healthy marriage by any means. I can tell you that I'm a lot happier. I can tell you that he's a lot happier. The fact that I can curse at my husband, that I can sometimes talk shit on my husband to my friends without feeling guilty about it, that he knows that I do that I can yell at him sometimes. And then like it's okay. Like we are so much happier. We are so much happier.
It's literally the same over here because I had the same tone, same conversation, same tiptoeing around, same carefulness, thinking that I was approaching it in a really healthy space to have a good marriage. I mean, letting go of shame, letting go of the shoulds, and letting yourself be is just when you know you're whole and you are not your marriage, you can actually show up in such a better space. I mean, I shared this before, is that we had this New Year's Eve experience that was not great. And before, had anything like that happen before, I would have shamed myself. I would have blamed him. I would have made it like we were bad people or we didn't work together. It would have been a whole like therapy session forever. It could have destroyed us. And on the way home the next morning, we screamed it out, told each other everything we needed to say, and just let it all out and took a breather. And by the afternoon, we were fine to go. It was like, well, that was stupid. That was some stupid decisions and we're moving on. right? Like, is there anything else we need to do about this? And was kind of like, nope, we're good. And it was so nice to let stupid decisions be stupid decisions and nothing else. It didn't say anything about us. It didn't say like he was a bad person or I was a bad person or we should have done this and that and this. It was like, well, at least our life's not boring. Like, I mean, that's kind of what we concluded. I was like, well, I guess if we're going to go down this road of crazy and trying new things, then we're going to end up in situations that we didn't know what to do and how to handle it. And that's what this is.
I really think that the root of all of this, of us trying to shove ourselves into these boxes, of doing the life that we think we should be doing, it like all comes down to the issue being shame. That like shame is not a useful feeling, is not a useful tool. It tells you that you are a bad person, that you are inherently bad.
Yeah.
And it is not helpful in moving forward, in apologizing, in coming up with solutions to be better. It is so damaging on so many levels. And to be able to eradicate that, or at least strive to eradicate that and lessen that in my life, has been like the number one thing that has made my life better over the last 3 years.
It's 1,000 times. I mean, I'll share the story again about my son and how he is still in the Mormon religion. And one day we're sitting on the couch and he said, Mom, don't take this the wrong way, but according to my beliefs, you are breaking all of the commandments. You are technically being a bad person. And I don't understand why you're still so happy. You're literally the happiest person I know. You have all these magical things happen to you, call them blessings or whatever. All this wonderful stuff is happening to you. And even when things bad happen, you just kind of roll with it. You just are super peaceful and just go with the flow. And you're literally the mom that all my friends want to come hang out with because they know that they're not being judged. And yet you are breaking all the commandments that I am being taught. If I keep all of these, I will have joy. But yet I am going to bed every night feeling like I'm not good enough. I haven't done enough. I am a failure. I'm a sinner. And yet I am the one keeping the commandments. And I was just kind of a little bit like, well, keep asking that question because I don't know. Like, but I think it just says a lot. It says a lot about when you're trying to fit into a box and play by the rules. It's literally the society we've all grown up in, and we think that that's the right way and that there is a right way, and all of it is bullshit. Technically,
it's all made up.
Like, is anyone that's playing by the rules happy? Like, look around. Like, it's not working.
No, not at all. It's all made up and nothing matters. And that in itself can be confusing as well, to break out of this like mold of all of these supposed tos. And then you're having to figure out, okay, well then what do I want when I've only ever lived my life by someone else's rules? How do you live then? But yeah, it's hard. It's hard work to figure that out, but it's great. I mean, like I said, I don't know if anyone else would look at my marriage or my life and be like, that's a healthy situation, but I'm happy. I'm happier, and my kids are happier, and my husband's happier, and letting go of all of these supposed tos has just been nothing but good.
I know. I think even you saying the word happier, I'm like trying to ask myself, like, am I happier? Like, is happy?
Yeah, is that a good word to use there? Happy
me,
or
and I don't know, because in the context that I would have put happy, it would have been, this is what happy looks like. Even the word happy had a box.
That's
and for
true.
me, all I know is it is easier. I have, it's so quiet in here. I keep saying that in myself. It's just so damn quiet. I'm not yelling at myself. I'm not judging myself. I'm not asking myself how to be and where to be and what to do and how to do it. I'm just here being So when shit hits the fan, still just being, when there's things to celebrate, I'm there for it. It feels like I can finally show up to my life and experience it and be here. Even when it's not necessarily happy, I'm here to feel the sadness. I'm here to feel the grief. I'm here to feel the crazy. I'm here to have the fight. I'm
Are you
here.
content?
I
We're
just,
looking for the word content.
maybe I'm just, yeah, I mean, I'm just being rather than like running at something or feeling destroyed by something. It feels like restful, I guess. It just feels like I am, period. We talked about that in another podcast before. Like, I just am. I always use, I don't even know, I'm not like a huge Disneyland fan, but for some reason, this Disneyland analogy that I've created in my brain like comes up all the time. I had like massive disappointment.
Yeah, you've talked about this.
I know. And it just makes so much sense because talking about I am, right? Like I play in the world now like it's Disneyland and it's just this fun place to be. And when there's disappointment, it says nothing about me. It's like a ride at Disneyland being shut down and it's like a bummer. But I don't go into like, I'm not worthy. It's my fault. What could I have done differently? It's just a ride that got shut down that I don't get to go on. It literally has nothing to do with me. I couldn't have done anything differently. Here I am at Disneyland, the end. And I think that if more people can get to that point where they're just being here to experience, to like have the experience rather than achieve something or get to something or have all these things add up to who we are, it would just be such a better place.
Agreed.
Well, we actually recorded this one.
Yay!
Win-win.
Good job.
So we'll be dropping our podcast every Monday, so you guys can drop in and check out our new chit chats. And if you want to continue these conversations, or I don't know, come yell at us, whatever, we did it wrong. You can find Sharon at Sharon Alive, and you can find me at being Marcella Hill, or you can go to wakeherup.co. And Sharon, I'm going to be adding you to the website, so we can just use that website and we'll find all the things.
Yeah. We're on TikTok for now as far as
until
alive and there.
19th.
Instagram. I'm on YouTube. Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, actually, I'll be uploading all of our videos to YouTube this weekend.
On Wake Her Up or being
Wake Her Up.
Wake Her Up. Cool. Yeah, if you want to watch us.
I know.
Have this conversation.
It's like maybe watching us should be part of like some VIP access where you're like gonna watch us drink our coffee and
play with my hair and check myself out a million
crumbs on our shirts and get up and yell at our children in the middle of it. You're kind of missing half of this if you're not watching, I would say.
We've yelled at our kids so many times. Our dog.
You don't even know because we edited it out. But if you were watching this, you'd be like, oh, there she goes again.
Oh, dear.
We think we're so entertaining, but, hopefully people love this information. Well, we'd love to hear what you guys think about this. If you want to leave us a review, share it, post, we're going to post about it so you can come on and comment on our social media about this conversation. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Love you.
I love you all. Thanks, everyone. See you later.